So there more manufacturing consent and fear-mongering is happening. So now I want to cover this story real quickly. Here it is. So this is in the New York Times. Russia secretly offered Afghan militant. This is an old story from a couple weeks ago, but there's a update to it. So that's why haven't covered this yet. We were on vacation. But you saw the story when it hit, right? Russia secretly offered Afghan militant bounties to kill U.S. troops. Intelligence says. They should stop calling it intelligence. They should call it dumbagence. Because that is criminals. Because that is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Russia has to pay Afghans to kill American soldiers who are currently occupying their country. You mean the thing that the Afghanistans are doing for free? Russia somehow has to pay them to do it? Next thing you're going to tell me, New York Times headline, Chris Christie paid to go to a buffet. You don't need to pay him. He's already going. This is the New York Times. This is the New York Times. This is the New York Times. After doing this for 4 fucking years, they're still doing this. Do you understand how the entirety of journalism sucks horribly? Do you understand how the entirety of it? This is the New York Times. This is the paper everybody wants to work at if they're in journalism. Oh my God. This is this kind of shit they do on the regular. And they never, by the way, they never take down bogus stories. They never take them down. The subheading on that is Trump administration has been deliberating for months about what to do about a stunning intelligence assessment that the Russians are paying Afghans to kill U.S. troops. So I immediately tweeted out and I said, my jumping off point is always that the government is lying. Mm-hmm. And the New York Times is repeating those lies to manufacture consent like they always do. And that's exactly what they're doing. And this is Sarah Abdullah. She tweeted this out. It's fantastic. She goes, the New York Times lied about Iraq, Iran, Syria, Libya, and yet we're expected to believe it's propaganda. It's war propaganda about the Russia today. Yeah, no. There it is. And she links to all these bullshit. Stopping Gaddafi, stop Iran's bombs, Syria. We know Iraq is lying. Why we know Iraq is lying?
Jeez. By Condoleezza Rice.
Is that who that is?
Yeah, it tells you the opinion piece.
And so then Aaron Matei tweeted out, Russiagate has successfully duped liberals to transmute their justified opposition to Trump into militarism versus Russia. So the way the liberals are opposing Trump is they've transmuted their, or what was the word he used? Yeah, transmuted their opposition to Trump and turned it into being militaristic and saber-rattling with Russia. The latest Afghanistan story is thinly sourced and doesn't make sense. Does the Taliban need an incentive to kill Americans? They've been fighting us for 19 years. That's what he says. So I retweeted it. I said, of course, the U.S. news media continues to repeat CIA propaganda uncritically. And it once again falls on independent journalists to apply any amount of skepticism to the career criminals and psychopaths who've started every U.S. war in my lifetime. # manufacturing consent, because that's exactly what the New York Times does. But it gets better. Then some douchebag from the Washington Post, this guy, I covered diplomacy and national security for the Washington Post. His name is John Hudson. So you know this guy is a fucking propagandist and a tool of the highest order. Why? How do I know this? Because he tweeted this out. We have confirmed, he says, we have confirmed the New York Times scoop. They confirmed it, that a Russian military spy unit offered bounties to Taliban-linked militants to attack coalition forces in Afghanistan. And then he links to the reporters and himself. So all these different reports took 4 people to fucking lie to you, to not know what they're talking about. this person, this Missy underscore Ryan, him, and then this guy Shane Harris, and that's whoever that is, Nakashimi. So they've said they've confirmed it. They said, this is what he says, we've confirmed it. The New York Times story. This guy said it. And all those. So I tweeted out, he's lying. He's lying. He did not confirm anything. He was lying. Not even a little. That's a flat out lie. That's still up there on Twitter. Twitter didn't make him take it down. It's a lie. He didn't confirm it at all. It's a lie. Twitter lets him keep it up. It's not a mistake. It's a lie. John Hudson is lying. The Washington Post is lying. The New York Times is lying. And Twitter is letting those lies stay up. So there it is. I said he's lying. He did not confirm anything from the article. The attempt to stoke violence against Americans, if confirmed. That's from his article. So the article, he says, we've confirmed it. If you go to the article, this is what it says inside the article. The attempt to stoke violence against Americans, if confirmed. That's in the article he linked to and his tweet was, we've confirmed it. You go to the article that confirms it, it says, if confirmed. It was never confirmed. That fucking guy, John Hudson, flat out lied. There's your Washington Post. Those are the kind of people who work at the Washington Post. Flat out war propagandists and liars. And he couldn't wait. We've confirmed it. You get it confirmed a goddamn thing. You know what he confirmed? He confirmed that a CIA spook said that happened. That's not confirmation, John, and you know it. That's you being a good little tool. The opposite of a real journalist. You're a reporter. I'm sorry. You're a repeater. You're not a reporter. There it is. There it is. The attempt there right from this goddamn article. Here's another right from the article. News of the murky initiative comes as U.S. diplomats attempt to kindle political talks that could put an end to the country's longest war, now in its 19th year. So Trump and his diplomats were trying to negotiate a way to get us the F out of Afghanistan so he could have something to run on. Something to run on. They're trying to end this war. Well, guess what? The CIA doesn't want this war to end. Neither does the New York Times. Neither does the Washington Post. Neither does Jeff Bezos. Neither does the Secretary of Education of Defense. Neither does Raytheon or Boeing or Chuck Todd or NBC News or CNN. They all want this war to keep going. And that's why the CIA planted this story. They planted a fake story. And then it got repeated. A fake story got repeated. Front page of the New York Times, Washington Post, we're confirming it. They're not confirming it. It's all a big lie. And now you know why people voted for Trump? Because their news media and their establishment are 100% liars, and they thought Trump was going to stick his thumb in their eye, except he's not. He's just like them. And you want to know how a story like that gets planted? Here's how a story like that gets planted. A fake story like that, and then a fake guy like John Hudson from the Washington Post says they confirmed it. You know that because they're all working for the goddamn intelligence agencies. The Washington Post, the guy who owns it, is literally to the tune of over $1 billion working with fucking CIA. Jeff Bezos, his contract with the CIA. $600 million, which is way more than the Washington Post is worth. So here's how a story like that gets planted in the New York Times and then the Washington Post. Here's how that happens. A jagoff pothead comedian is going to teach them how to do journalism. They know how to do it. They just don't want to because they'll get fired like Chris Hedges. If you tell the truth about war, you'll get fired. Which is why they suppress independent news on YouTube. because Google and Facebook, they're the ones who control the news in this country. They control what you know and what you think. And that's why they're suppressing independent news. Here's how this story gets planted. As Max Blumenthal points out, a dubious story about Russia paying bounties to the Taliban to kill U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan appeared in the New York Times. It was sourced entirely to American intelligence officials. Former CIA operations director John Stockwell explained how Langley works the U.S. media. CIA operations director. Here's how the CIA plants stories. You ready?
Another thing is to disseminate propaganda to influence people's minds. And this is a major function of the CIA. And unfortunately, of course, it overlaps into the gathering of information. You have contact with a journalist, you will give him true stories, you'll get information from him, you'll also give him false stories.
Did you buy his confidence with true stories?
You buy his confidence and set him up. We've seen this happen recently with Jack Anderson, for example, who has his intelligence sources, and he has also admitted that he's been set up by them. You know, every fifth story just simply being false. You also work on their human vulnerabilities to recruit them in a classic sense, to make them your agent so that you can control what they do, so you don't have to set them up sort of, you know, by putting one over on them. So you can say, here, plant this one next Tuesday.
Can you do this with responsible reporters?
Yes, the Church Committee brought it out in 1975, and then Woodward and Bernstein put an article in Rolling Stone a couple of years later. 400 journalists cooperating with the CIA, including some of the biggest names in the business, to consciously introduce the stories into the press.
Well, give me a concrete example of how you use the press this way, how a false story is planted and how you got it published.
Well, for example, in my war, the Angola War that I helped to manage, 1/3 of my staff was propaganda. Ironically, it's called covert action inside the CIA. Outside, that means the violent part. I had propagandists all over the world, principally in London, Kinshasa, and Zambia. We would take stories which we would write and put them in.
So that's like Bellingcat. So so they have their propagandists in the Times and the CNN and Washington Post and all over the world. And then there's also just straight up there's no pretense that they're doing anything else. And that would be like that Bellingcat website. They just whatever the CIA says, they just print it.
The Zambia Times, and then pull them out and send them to a journalist on our payroll in Europe. But his cover story, you see, would be that he'd gotten them from his stringer in Lusaka, who had gotten them from the Zambia Times.
So there you go. There's your big Russia's paying Afghanistan to kill Americans. I mean, the CIA, you know why they go into spying? Because they're shitty fiction writers. That's your story you came up with? That's the story. That's the story. That's how uncreative they are. They're not fucking creative. They're not very creative guys. They lie for a living. He's telling you how it works. He's not that creative. They get to say, I'm from the CIA. Here's a story. Go print it. Oh, thank you for the story. Go, here's another one. Go print. Thank you. And then here's a totally fucking fake one. Oh, thank you. They don't know. How much imagination and creativity does it take for that guy to fucking work a reporter? Zero. Takes zero creativity, which is why they come up with these stupid stories, and they're always shocked that people don't buy it anymore. But enough people do. That's why we're still in Afghanistan, and no one's demanding we get the fuck out 19 years later. Barack Obama spent 8 years in office, kept everybody in Afghanistan, ramped it up in Libya, ramped it up in Syria, ramped it up everywhere. So there you go. That's how you know that story's bullshit, because first of all, it's laughable. Makes no sense. And so now there's more to this story. There's more to this Russia story of the pretend made-up story by the CIA that Russia is paying Afghanis to kill American soldiers. I don't know if you guys know, we're occupying Afghanistan, their country. If there was Russian soldiers occupying the United States, do you think another country would have to pay us to kill them? If there was a bunch of Afghani soldiers here in the United States, do you think Russia would have to pay us to kill them? They don't have to pay us now. We go over to their country to kill them for free. No one's paying us. Guess what? So a few weeks after that, here's a new story. This is from, I believe, July 9th. So a few weeks after they told everybody, be scared, be scared. U.S. officials say intel on Russian bounties was less than conclusive. So how does John Hudson's tweet still fucking stand? How is his tweet still up? How is that news article still in the Washington Post? How is that still up at their website? It is. Because the truth has nothing to do with news reporting in the United States. Absolutely nothing. Which is why it's hilarious that they claim to do fact checks. I was on the Rolling Stone podcast. They said they had to fact check some of the stuff I said. I fucking laughed my head off. You guys print bullshit about fucking Russiagate. The entire profession constantly lying. There's more of it. Did NBC have to fact check? No. There's no fact checking happening in journalism, you fucking gaslighting morons. And if you are fact checking yourself, you're the only one. There's no fact checking happening in journalism in America. The only thing you're doing is fact checking something that might get your advertiser pissed off. A growing chorus of American officials have said in recent days that the intelligence suggesting Russians' bounties to induce the Taliban to kill American service members in Afghanistan is less than conclusive. How is it that I knew the fucking moment this story was posted that it was bullshit, but it took NBC News a couple of weeks to figure that out? Isn't that awesome? The initial New York Times story about the intelligence on Russian bounties characterized it as a finding of the intelligence community, but subsequent reporting has painted a more nuanced picture. Oh, nuanced meaning it was false. That there was actually no evidence. Nuanced, meaning the CIA was making this shit up so we could keep having a war in Afghanistan go on for a third decade. More nuanced. U.S. officials tell NBC News the CIA has concluded with moderate confidence. Let me tell you what moderate confidence means. So the definition of moderate confidence, you know what that means? That means no evidence. That's when you hear them say we have moderate confidence, that means zero evidence. That's what that means. Or else they would say we have evidence.
And was it Comey, Jimmy, that said he was overly confident?
Yeah, so that's how they like to use those words. When they asked James Comey about the lying that the FBI was doing to the FISA court, he said, I'm 100% very confident that everything was done right. So he knew it wasn't. He knew they lied. So when it got revealed that they lied, he goes, I was overconfident. So that doesn't sound like you're lying. It sounds like I was overconfident. Sounds like you got let down. Moderate confidence. That there was such a bounty program. A term that, this is what they say the term means. A term of art that means analysts find it plausible, but less than certain. Yeah, the moon, the other side of the moon could be made out of cheese, but probably not. Yeah, they could be paying them, but it fucking makes absolutely no sense and it's ridiculous. Would you guys make up a better lie? But less than certain. Plausible. You know what else is plausible? The CIA is making it all up. Is that also? Do you have moderate confidence that the CIA is making it all up? Because I do. I have overwhelming confidence. In fact, I have evidence that they make this shit up. Although an official brief on the intelligence told NBC News it shows American service members died as a result of the bounties. Oh, my God. Although an official briefed on the intelligence told NBC News it shows American service members died as a result of the bounties, General McKenzie told reporters that he had not seen any evidence of that. In 2017, General Joseph Votel, commander of the U.S. Central Command, said it was a possibility that Russia was arming the Taliban. Imagine you are risking your life in Afghanistan and Russians are trying to get you killed, said Douglas London, a former CIA officer. Let's break that down. Imagine you are invading another country, killing people in that other country for absolutely no reason for 2 decades straight. And then someone's trying to kill you. I never. What? The president knows, but rather than do anything, he directs intelligence agencies to cooperate with the Russians on counterterrorism. Do you see this? Do you see the CIA does not want us to cooperate? Even to fight terrorism with Russia? Do you see Russia, which we had a big reset in 2012? That was the whole thing. We're friends. We're all buddies. Putin was fishing off Kenny Bunkport with George Bush, hanging out with the Clintons. Putin. They're hiring Bill Clinton to give speeches paid for by a Russian Kremlin bank at $500,000 a clip. That was when we were all friends. Now, no more, because we got to find a way to get our fucking military-industrial complex budget even higher, and that's what this is. This is manufacturing consent, and Trump wants the fucking Russians to work with America to fight terrorism, and the CIA is like, no way. Terrorism's yesterday. Russia's the new moneymaker. London was referring to the beginning of the Trump administration when the CIA was instructed to work with the Russian intelligence agencies to fight terrorists, which is what Trump should be doing. Trump actually does something right, and they make it out to be horrible. That's your resistance, grifters. That's what that is. The revelations came into focus inside the Trump administration at a delicate and distracted time. Moreover, as Mr. Trump seeks re-election in November, he wants to strike a peace deal with the Taliban to end the Afghan war, which is why all this bullshit's being said right now. Because Trump wants to end the war. Not Obama, Trump. And the CIA ain't going to let that fucking happen, and neither is the New York Times and the Washington Post. No, neither is NBC News. They are not going to let that happen. And here's our good friend, Hollywood blue check knucklehead, John Cusack, believing the bullshit story. There is no bullshit story from the New York Times and Washington Post or MSNBC that John Cusack won't immediately ingest, believe 100%, and then tweet about it. Do you want to see what he said? Here's what he said about that fake story. Silence on the hypocritical left, the enablers of the death cult. And he puts KKK in it. He's very clever. He's a very clever fella. Except he's fucking wrong about everything. And he's cocky about it. Kind of attractive when you think about it, to be cocky when you're wrong.
Overly confident.
The enablers of the death cult who carried Trump's water, who so smugly proclaimed Trump's being compromised by, among other things, yes, Russia was all a hoax. Because it is a hoax, you fucking moron. You blue check idiot. How fucking stupid are you? You're an artist and you believe the CIA hook, line, and sinker? You're an artist and you believe the New York Times when they talk about war? You're an artist and you Russiagate and you McCarthy smear? You're an artist, you fucking moron? You're not an artist, John. Something happened to you. You're dead inside, which is why I haven't seen you in a movie theater for fucking 2 decades. You're dead inside. You should be apologizing for this, but you're not. You know why? Because you're a narcissist. Because you have more narcissism than the regular person, which is why you're a blue check show business person. And the hallmark of a narcissist is they'll never apologize when they're wrong, and you're fucking 1,000% wrong. And you're trying to smear truth tellers again because of your Trump derangement syndrome and your willingness to McCarthy smear people who are your political enemies, which makes you a tiny little person, John. A tiny little moron. That's what you are, John. You're not to be respected. You're not to be admired. You're to be pitied because there is no stupid lie from the CIA or the New York Times that you won't fucking believe and repeat. Just to bolster their brand. So he's saying people who have been debunking the CIA lies about Russiagate and McCarthy smears and pushing back against it, he's saying that we are doing that to bolster our brands. When everyone knows the resistance grift is the people who are fucking doing that. Rachel Maddow's show, the #1 show on TV because she was doing that. Black is white, up is down, and in is out if you're a Hollywood fucking has-been. That's what this is. Up is down, black is white, in is out, and you're now smearing truth tellers in a fucking McCarthyite way. What a piece of fucking excrement you are, John. Unbelievable. Okay. Anything else? Oh, wait. Here's another story for John. John, if you're still watching, and I know you are. Hey, this is the part where I tell you where our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then I would tell you to go join our premium, but nobody has a fucking job. So why don't you just enjoy the video?